The night Sparta held its breath. A shadow moved across the moonlit courtyard, and in its wake, the air seemed to thrum with secrets unspoken. Helen stood at the edge of the palace garden, her heart a storm she could neither calm nor command. Somewhere beyond the walls, a stranger's gaze had found her, one that promised danger, desire, and a choice that could shatter kingdoms. In that silent, trembling moment, she knew life as she had known it was about to end. The moon hung low over Sparta, spilling silver across the marble columns of the palace. The night air was still, heavy with the scent of jasmine and distant smoke. It trembled with secrets Helen could almost feel pressing against her skin. She stood at the edge of the palace garden, fingers brushing the cold stone railing. Heart racing with a storm she could neither calm nor command. Somewhere beyond the walls, a presence lingered, unseen, deliberate, impossible to ignore. A faint shuffle on gravel drew her gaze. Not the guards. They moved with rigid, predictable steps. This was different, careful, intentional. A shadow shifted along the edge of the courtyard, stretching toward her, whispering of danger she could not yet name. Helen's breath caught. Every instinct screamed, "Do not move, do not look, do not let them see you." Yet some deeper curiosity, impossible to resist, drew her closer. Then she saw him. The figure stepped into the moonlight, tall, poised, and with eyes that seemed to pierce through the garden, through the palace walls, straight into her. Storm gray, unreadable, magnetic. Helen felt her pulse quicken, a mixture of fear and fascination curling through her veins. The air itself seemed to hum, expectant, heavy with unspoken consequences. "You should not be here," she whispered, voice trembling yet sharp, like the snap of a bowstring. He did not answer, only tilted his head as though he had expected her words, as though he had been waiting for this very moment. Helen's chest tightened. Something had shifted. The night, the shadows, the stranger. Everything she had trusted about Sparta, about herself, about her life, now teetered on the edge of collapse. Helen's mind raced. Thoughts of Menelaus, of safety and palace order, collided with the forbidden thrill that surged at the sight of this stranger. Each heartbeat carried both desire and dread. She should turn away. She should retreat to what she knew. But the pull was irresistible. Something beyond ordinary, something inevitable, hummed through the night, and she could not deny it. A gust of wind stirred the cypress trees, carrying a hint of distant lands, of danger, of lives poised on the brink of change. Helen shivered. Her decision, though not yet made, hovered like a shadow over her. This was the night that could unravel everything she had ever known, the night that might tilt Sparta, her heart, and perhaps even the world, into unknown territory. Every step she took along the stone path was measured, yet tremulous. Every sound, the rustle of leaves, the whisper of night air, the faint echo of the stranger's presence, sharpened her senses. She felt alive in a way she had never known, as though life itself had condensed into this one suspended moment of fear, curiosity, and anticipation. The stranger took a single step closer, and Helen's world seemed to shiver. It was no longer just a night that held tension. It was the space between them, the unspoken question, the dangerous possibility that her life might change forever. The palace, the guards, the world she thought she knew, all of it had receded into the shadows, leaving only this charged, impossible moment. And in that quiet, trembling night, Helen understood. Life as she had known it was ending. Choice, desire, and danger had arrived together, and nothing, not her heart, not her reason, not Sparta itself, could prepare her for what was coming. The dawn was pale, fragile, spilling light over the walls of Sparta, yet Helen felt none of its warmth. Her mind replayed the night over and over, each shadow, each movement of the stranger etched into her memory. How had he appeared? So silent, so deliberate, so impossible. The question gnawed at her. Who was he? And why did he stir something she could neither name nor control? Menelaus, steadfast and commanding, entered the courtyard as if he sensed nothing of the tremor that ran through her soul. He spoke of the day's duties, of alliances, of markets and soldiers, yet his words landed like distant echoes. Helen heard them, but they felt faint, unimportant, overshadowed by the storm gathering inside her. Every glance toward the gates, every rustle of wind, made her heart lurch with the memory of gray eyes that seemed to see through her very being. She wandered through the palace gardens, brushing her fingers along the leaves and blossoms, trying to anchor herself in the familiar. But nothing held. The air was charged with a tension she could not escape. Her thoughts twisted, questioning every choice, every loyalty, every heartbeat. Duty called her to Sparta, to Menelaus, to the life she had always known. Desire pulled her toward the unknown, toward him, toward a danger she could not resist. By mid-morning, whispers began to ripple through the palace halls, rumors of strangers in distant lands, of envoys and travelers seeking permission, of gifts from Troy that might arrive any day. Helen's heart raced. Could it be? Had the night's encounter been more than a chance shadow, more than a fleeting impossibility? The air seemed to hum with answers she dared not seek, yet could not ignore. She withdrew to her chambers, locking the heavy doors behind her, and sank to the floor, drawing her knees to her chest. The memory of gray eyes, poised yet penetrating, lingered like a phantom, and her pulse beat faster with both fear and longing. She realized, with a sudden, jarring clarity, that she was no longer the same Helen who had walked the palace gardens freely. Something inside her had shifted irrevocably. Hours passed, yet she did not eat. She did not speak. Each sound, each distant footstep in the marble halls, made her flinch. Every moment seemed suspended, as if the world itself waited for her decision, for the first step she might take toward the life she had never imagined. And then, at the edge of her thoughts, the knowledge whispered to her. The stranger was not merely a shadow, not merely a fleeting threat. He represented a choice, a path that could shatter kingdoms, unravel her heart, and awaken something both terrifying and impossible. Helen's reflection in the polished bronze mirror startled her. Eyes wide, lips slightly parted, she hardly recognized herself. The woman staring back was poised and fragile, terrified and daring, a woman poised on the edge of destiny. She understood the danger clearly now. She could ignore it, she could turn away and remain in Sparta, safe yet forever restless. Or she could follow the pull she could neither explain nor deny, stepping into uncertainty and, perhaps, disaster. The courtyard below remained quiet, but Helen could feel it, almost see it, the threads of fate weaving, pulling, tightening around her. Somewhere beyond the palace gates, the world waited, dangerous and luminous, calling her with a whisper she could not resist. Her heart, once anchored to the life she knew, now throbbed for something beyond ordinary, something forbidden, something extraordinary. Even as she closed her eyes, trying to silence the longing, the decision lingered on the tip of her consciousness. And deep inside, a tremor of both terror and anticipation told her one undeniable truth. Her life was no longer her own. The moment she embraced the unknown, everything, her heart, her home, her destiny, would change forever. Twilight fell over Sparta, painting the palace in hues of amber and shadow. Helen stood at her chamber window, gazing across the city she had known all her life. The evening air was cool against her skin, yet inside, a fire raged, a fire of fear, desire, and something unnameable that pulled her forward. Every instinct screamed, stay, obey, survive, but every heartbeat echoed a different call. Leave, follow, risk everything. A soft rustle behind her made her turn. The stranger was there, impossibly close, framed by the fading light. A silhouette both alluring and dangerous. His eyes met hers, steady and insistent, and Helen felt the tension coil tighter within her chest. She knew, without a word, that this encounter was no accident. No fleeting subtle. It was a summons, a test, a choice she could no longer postpone. Her fingers tightened on the windowsill, nails pressing into the stone as though she could anchor herself to the life she had known. Memories flashed. Menelaus' steady gaze, the quiet warmth of palace halls, the safety of rules and routines. And then, stronger, more compelling, came the memory of those gray eyes in the moonlight, the impossible pull she could not resist, the sense that fate had touched her life and would not release it. Time seemed to stretch and shiver. Each second was heavy with possibility, danger, and consequence. Helen's breath came in shallow bursts as the world outside her window, Sparta, her life, the familiar, receded, and only the path ahead remained. And then, with a mixture of fear and certainty, she stepped forward. The hallway was silent. Every echo of her bare feet against the stone floor sounded like a drumbeat of destiny. She moved swiftly, yet carefully, avoiding the guards, avoiding detection, guided by some invisible thread that pulled her toward the courtyard, toward the stranger, toward the unknown. Her pulse thundered in her ears, yet she felt alive in a way she had never imagined. Outside, the gates loomed, dark and formidable, yet impossibly inviting. The stranger waited, poised and unwavering, as if the night itself had conspired to deliver her into this moment. Helen's hand brushed his, tentative but deliberate, and she felt the spark of a choice that could change everything, not just her heart, but the world beyond the palace walls. With one final glance back, a whispered farewell to the life she had known, Helen let herself be led into the shadows. The moonlight caught her hair, turning it into a river of silver, as if marking the path of destiny itself. Behind them, Sparta slept, unaware that a single choice had begun a chain of events that could topple kingdoms, unravel lives, and ignite wars whose fires would burn for generations. And as they disappeared into the night, Helen understood the truth that had hovered just beyond her understanding. The ordinary world was over. The extraordinary had begun. The night had swallowed Sparta, yet the air remained electric, humming with secrets Helen had carried into the shadows. She did not look back. Every step away from the palace, every heartbeat, reminded her that the life she had known was gone, replaced by a world both dangerous and luminous, a world that demanded courage, wit, and a heart unafraid to defy destiny. Above her, the moon traced a pale path across the sky, silent witness to a choice that could unravel kingdoms. Somewhere beyond the gates, the threads of fate pulled taut, waiting for the first spark to ignite a fire that would change everything. Helen's pulse was steady now, fierce and unwavering. Fear still lingered at the edges of her mind, but beneath it burned a thrill she had never known, the thrill of stepping into the extraordinary. And as the shadows embraced her, whispering of distant lands, of impossible encounters, of battles yet to come, Helen understood the truth she could not deny. The ordinary world had ended. A new story, fierce and unstoppable, had begun, and this is only the beginning. Stay close, for the world beyond the ordinary waits to reveal its secrets.